everyone, and welcome back to another awesome episode of the Rise and Glide podcast brought to you by Paddlogger. My name is Maddi LeBlanc, and I am joined here today with my co-host Holly Pye, and we are so excited to introduce to you Anna Tschirky, who is an incredible stand-up paddleboarding athlete from Switzerland, and we got to talk to her about a lot of things, not just paddling, but also in the realm of health and fitness, and another concept as well called REDS. So I don't know about you, Holly, but I felt like this episode was very educational. It was very eye-opening, and it was really cool to talk to an athlete who has been suffering from REDS, but also learning about what she's doing to help kind of remedy that and what her journey looks like now.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was great to chat with Anna. So, I mean, firstly, hearing about the difference between winter and summer in Switzerland, obviously, well, a bit like you, I guess, in Canada. In the winter, like freezing temperatures, it's hard to paddle and there's snow and ice everywhere. And then in the summer, it's nice sunshine and, it's easy to train in and compete on the water. But yeah, no, absolutely. So Anna has been I'm going to say the last year and a bit now. She has been suffering with REDS, which stands for, or REDS, it stands for Relative Energy Deficiency Syndrome. So it's common in endurance athletes. It's more common in women than it is men. This is just for anybody who doesn't know already. And it's essentially, just as it says on the tin, a relative energy deficiency syndrome. So it's more common in endurance athletes because you're burning a lot of energy. And if you're not taking in as much energy as you're burning, then you end up with an energy deficiency. And if you keep doing that, over time, because, well, some people, I think it's common in people who have eating disorders in sport because they're intentionally not consuming enough energy. But that's not Anna's case. And for a lot of people who do these, long distance, whether it's running, paddling, cycling, whatever it may be, they're unintentionally underfueling. So not eating enough for the level of training that they're doing. It was really interesting to hear Anna's story. I was going to go into a bit more detail, but I think Anna does a much better job of explaining it than I do, seeing as she's the one who's all clued up about it. But yeah, before we get into the episode, we will hit play very soon. But before we get into it, Maddi, tell me, how's your week been? You just told me something very exciting before we hit record.
Oh my gosh, yes, folks. Okay. I think we all know that a lot of stand-up paddleboarders are exploring the world of foiling as well. And I just told Holly before we hit record that last night was my first time ever trying a foil, like a stand-up paddle foil. And it was so much fun. And I just honestly, Holly, I have just so much more mad respect for you and what you do because it was so humbling. I haven't had an experience in a long time to try something, try a new sport like that, where it's not like I felt like I was completely learning from scratch in the sense that, I was able to stand on the board. I didn't sink the board. There was enough volume in the board for me that, I could literally stand there in, a surf stance position and the board's not moving. But to get the feeling of paddling but pumping at the same time, that up down and then really try to get it to fly. Oh my god, I was out of breath. I was like I just wanted to get it, so I kept bouncing the board and I could pump it. I couldn't get that, the actual, glide of it. And anytime the nose came up, I was like, oh, God, and it actually scared me.
No, it's so much fun. And I think actually being from a paddling background and particularly having done, SUP sprints, you'll probably get it a lot quicker than you realise or a lot quicker than some other people coming into it from other sports because, yeah, essentially it's just a really, really, really hard sprint with some other things thrown in and harder balance. But yeah, no, keep going. And I want to see some videos next time. Especially if you get foiling, that would be super cool.
Well, I'm actually curious, like maybe before we start the episode, do you have like a few tips for our listeners or anybody tuning in that maybe is thinking about dabbling into the foiling space? Like, what would you do for a first time? Or
Well, I think there's a few tips. The first one is not a tip, but it's well, maybe it is a tip. Patience. It takes a long time. Like, even, I mean, I do a lot of foiling now, but I started wing foiling for quite a long time actually before I was sup foiling. And still, like, coming from a paddling and a wing foiling background, I was used to the feeling of being on the foil and I was used to paddling, but still, like, it's just so hard. It's like another level of cardio. Um, it's, yeah, totally brutal. And I think it does take a few sessions to get the hang of. Obviously, I definitely think, like I said earlier, if you're coming at it from a paddling background, you'll get it quicker than some other people, but it's still, it takes longer than you want it to take. But that feeling when you do get it is so good. And it's a bit like learning to drive, you know, everything seems so difficult when you start and there's so many things going on. But once it clicks, it's like automatic. So yeah, keep at it. Some other tips, I'd say if you're doing like flat water starts, as in, you know, you're not foiling behind a boat or you're not foiling with waves or downwinding, if you're just kind of on flat water trying to get it foiling, the like forward momentum, that speed is more important than trying to bounce it. It's the speed that makes the foil engage. So bouncing it a little bit can help, and you kind of naturally do that unintentionally as you sprint. You know, your legs are moving. But more than anything, like, just try and get that board moving forwards as fast as you can, because yeah, the faster the board is moving forwards, the easier it is for the foil to start lifting. Every foil is different, but every foil will need a certain amount of speed before it starts to lift. And if there's no forward momentum and there's just up and down, then it's not gonna start to fly. So yeah, just focus, I think, to start with. Focus on trying to paddle forwards as fast as you can, and you'll naturally start like bouncing a little bit anyway as you sprint. But yeah, I think that's more important than just the up and down. So give it a go.
yeah.
Send me a video.
Okay, I love that you said that, because that's exactly the environment like I was in last night, was completely flat water. I was in the intercoastal waterway here in Florida, so there was some current, but the water was still flat. So it was interesting. It was Packet Casey's foil I was trying, and he said to me that when he was watching me, he's like, okay, like, you're so close, like, he's like, I can see you're comfortable with the pump, and I think that probably comes from my surfing background, like, and I love riding on a surf skate carver board, so it's like I know how to pump, but it's just that, like, yeah, it's that feeling of when the foil actually starts to lift, like, how do you engage that and how do you work with that? So
No, your like paddling cadence is, or like your sprint cadence is super important. I think if you're not thinking about it too much, and I still do it, I try and put a lot of power in, and like my cadence it's high, but it's not super high. But I find that it's so much easier when my cadence is like crazy high, like higher than it would normally be for actual sprinting, higher than it would be for surfing. Just like really trying to get your arms moving as quickly as possible and trying to reach quite far forwards. So you're just like really scooping that water, like, forget technique, forget your paddling technique altogether, and just get that paddle moving as fast as it can and just scooping as much water as you can. And then when you do start to fly, you're starting learning all over again, because the stability when you're on the foil, like, you'll get checked to left, right and center, and then you got to learn something else. So come back maybe next week. On next week's episode we can talk about how to stay on the foil.
that would actually be cool, because honestly I could probably talk to you about foiling all day. Like, it was one of those experiences where, because I felt like I was just so close but still didn't get it, like, I'm addicted. Like, I want to try it again, and like because I want to get it. Like, I'm that person that's like, I need to do it until I get it. We could ramble forever, but I'm sure people want to actually listen to Anna speak on this episode. So
I agree. I was going to say, if we're not careful, we could just start a foiling podcast. But I will leave that to the real experts. And yeah, no, absolutely. We should probably move on to Anna because people clicked on this episode not to listen to us, but to listen to Anna Tschirky. So without further ado, here is our conversation with the lovely Anna.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rise and Glide podcast brought to you by Paddlogger. Holly and I, we are so stoked today to have Anna Tschirky from Switzerland. And Anna and Holly and I, we've actually all known each other for quite a few years now because we all do compete together. We all race together. And Anna, honestly, it's been a hot minute. I know I haven't seen you since last year. Holly, I'm not sure the last time you saw Anna as well, but we're so stoked to chat with you today. So thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me to talk to you, girls. I was really looking forward to have some contact to the stand-up paddling world again and just, chat about what's happening, what's not happening, and everything in between.
So for those of our listeners who don't know who you are, could you please introduce yourself and tell our audience just a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is, as you already mentioned, Anna Tschirky. I'm from Switzerland. I'm 20 years old and I'm a stand-up paddler, but I also like to do all kind of sports. I'm currently working in a cross-country ski shop during the winter up in the mountains. And I've also spent the summer in the mountains, which is another passion of mine. And I'm also Swiss champion. I'm European champion in 2023. And just enjoy doing sports, being outside and cook. Yeah.
That's awesome. I saw that you have an Instagram page called Banana Eats, and I'm like, oh my God, I was following it for a bit and then I had to stop because I was like, my mouth is watering all the time and I can't keep up with all of your awesome recipes. But I plan to get back to it because I'm looking for inspiration right now. So I think it's actually really cool, all that you do, not just in the world of stand-up paddling and sports, but what you do outside of it as well. So tell us, what have you been up to most recently? Right now, you said you're working in a ski shop for the winter and you'll be there until March.
Yeah, that's it. It's on the third year I'm doing this. So the first time I started working here during the winter, it was meant to be the altitude training camp, paired with working. And so I left this time I left in February to go to Fuerteventura to then after training in the snow, train on the water to prepare the season. And ever since I came back each winter. So now it's the third winter I'm working here. And I really enjoy the contrast, paddling a lot during the summer and then doing more cross-country skiing in the winter. And as I really like the winter here because there is snow and it's cold and it's not just foggy and rainy as it is back home. I really like to go back every winter, and it's great to work here with the people, and yeah.
Do you miss when you're in the mountains doing lots of skiing, do you miss stand-up paddling and the other way around during the summers? Do you miss the skiing or do you enjoy just pushing everything towards those sports when you can?
Yeah, so the past 2 years when I was paddling during the summer, I didn't actually really miss paddling during the winter at all because I could do what I love, just doing sports. So I did a lot of cross-country skiing in the winter. And that was for me, it was really great to disconnect from paddling for a bit, after intense season to just do something else. And then to come back with a lot of motivation to go paddling during spring to prepare the new season, the upcoming season. And this year has been really different. So I haven't been paddling that much. I haven't been racing at all. And actually now I can say that I really do miss paddling. Even though now the lakes here, there are some lakes, but they are frozen by now. So there's no chance to go and paddle. But if I check some pictures, some videos from the last year, so just from me paddling, I have to admit that I really miss paddling now. Which is unlikely because every time I was here during the winter, I was just happy to be in winter wonderland and do a lot of other things. But now now I do miss it. Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more, actually. Like, I just finished competing at the ICF World Sup Championships, and I think last week was the first time I got on my board in 3 weeks. Like, sometimes after a big race season, you're just like, okay, I need that break, I need a refresh, and it helps you come back to the board to be motivated and to continue training. But yeah, Holly and I, we do know that, you've taken some time off, so we can only imagine that, yeah, you must be missing stand-up paddling, like, a lot.
Yeah, I think that like it's great after an intense season to take some time off paddling and to do something else, because afterwards you get more motivation to train and to come back. But as you said, I was not paddling this year, and so it's been a year of change for me. I had to go different ways and find different things that I like to do, instead of just like training, traveling, doing sports. But yeah, it's kind of hard because I miss the community like the stand-up paddling has brought us. It's like the big family. Like we see each other on the races, we have fun together before and after the race. Between we race hard, we push hard, we give our best. And yeah, I think what I miss most is just traveling and meeting the people, and of course after like doing the races.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really excited to personally, I think in a little bit jump to why you have taken some time off the water. But I think before we get to that, I would love to know how you got into stand-up paddling in the first place and what has brought you here today.
Yeah, so it's a fun story because at my on the date of my 12th birthday, my mom gifted me a stand-up paddling lesson, as I was always talking about like those people standing on their boards in the water, and I want to try this as well. And so on that day, we went on the water and we had a lesson with the teacher that now has been a very good friend of mine. I really loved like stand-up paddling from the first minute on I was on the board. And so as she knew that there are not a lot of juniors, she was really trying to help me to get into the sport and to, yeah, just motivate me to keep on paddling. And so I was paddling a lot with my friend Catherine at the beginning. We were doing the first couple races in Switzerland together. And yeah, at some time during, I think it was my third year or my second year of paddling, I started to do international races. And I started to get better and better and saw like a lot of improvement. So I was really keen on keep on paddling and training and seeing how much I can improve and how far I can get.
Were you always a competitive person with sport, or did stand-up paddling bring that on for you? Because I know for me, I always liked sport, but I didn't do much competition before I started stand-up paddling.
Yeah, so like when I was younger, I was really into like animals. So I wanted to be a veterinarian. How do you say?
A vet.
How do you say? Yeah, I wanted to be a vet. So I was doing horse riding and yeah, just looking after a lot of animals. So that was kind of my world until I started stand-up paddling. And from that moment, everything changed. So I went from being animal lover to being a sports lover. And there was no time to do anything else. So I was just really committed to paddling. And yeah, I think I did some running races when I was younger, but not like out of competitiveness, just because I enjoyed it and my friends were doing it. But I think it really started when I was starting to paddle to see that like the competitive drive inside me to give my best, to push to my limits and see how far I can get. I think that really developed when I started paddling. Yeah.
Yeah, and how old were you when you did your first international race?
I think I was 13, if I remember it well. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that the race was in Spain, the World Sup Festival in Costa Blanca. And it was just a brutal race. There was like so much wind, so much side wind, so much headwind all race long. And we were going to this island because you start on a small island and you paddle back to shore. But first you have to paddle around the whole island. And so, yeah, it was my first time on like the open ocean. I was just so messy and bumpy and people were spreading out. So you were all by yourself. And I just remember crossing that finish line and feeling so happy, but also really, really proud of myself for finishing that race. And that's been like, I think, a really important point in my career. Just like after that race, each race that was when I was in a hard situation, I remember that I finished this race, and I knew that if I finish this race, I can finish everything else. So yeah, that
Yeah,
was my first international race then.
that's such a good way of looking at it. And I'm interested, was that the first time you'd been on the ocean? Because obviously Switzerland, there's no sea in Switzerland. And so I guess you did a lot of your training on the lakes. And was that race in Spain the first time you'd paddled on the ocean?
I think it was more or less the first race I did on the open ocean. I went one before the race. I went to Fuerteventura for 1 week to train a bit on the ocean, but it was quite limited because I had an injury on my knee, and so I couldn't really go into the waves. Um, but I always went out on our lake at home in Switzerland when it was like stormy, so I could at least have some downwind waves and try to go upwind and downwind and just make the most out of the boat wakes, the storms, yeah, everything. Like each movement you get in Swiss lakes, I was really trying to go out and paddle and improve. And then after the first international race, I started to go to Fuerteventura more often, more frequently to train and to improve in on the open ocean. Because after all, like most of the races are happening in the ocean, and then you need the experience and you need to know how to read the ocean and work with the ocean so to perform at your best.
Yeah, I think one of the most incredible things that I notice about you is that you have put in so much work to become so good in the at paddling in the ocean. And I remember in the European Championships last year in Portugal, we had really horrible weather conditions, and the technical race there were huge waves, some huge waves, and you just absolutely smashed it. And I know you have spent a lot of time in Fuerteventura, but I think that still doesn't compare to some people who maybe are paddling on the ocean every single day. So yeah, you've definitely worked really, really hard at that, and it's really impressive. How did you find it? Did you find it frustrating trying to kind of I guess having to go to Fuerteventura and having to learn a whole new style of paddling, or did it come quite easily to you? What was your experience like?
Yeah, so I love to challenge myself, and to paddle on the ocean was like a big challenge to me. But I think the biggest challenge paddling for Fuerteventura was the wind. Because like the wind was sometimes so strong that when you went out of the harbor, you were just like going backwards instead of forwards. And so there were waves, but it was really hard to train in the waves because yeah, either there was too much wind, the tide was too low, so you would have to be afraid like getting hit by a rock or anything like that. And so I had this dream of just being at the sandy beach with some good waves and some good conditions for so long to train just how to paddle on the open ocean that actually never really happened until I went to the World Championship in Les Sables d'Olonne in France last year, where we had those perfect conditions. We had a sandy beach, and before this race, I really trained to go in and out in the surf. And I think that was the moment where I really got comfortable, and I felt like I improved a lot in during that time, and which also led towards my good result at the European Championships and the confidence I had there to perform so well. Because in the end, I surprised myself with this second place, and how secure I felt also in those conditions. Because yeah, as you said, it's not the conditions I grew up in, and also not the conditions I train in. And so I think that was kind of the most important moment in like my process of learning how to paddle in the ocean. Of course, there were like a lot of races, and I went to training camps in the ocean. But then, yeah, it was always like either too windy or there were no waves. There was like always something that was not really perfect. But during this week in France, there it was just perfect, and I really, really like moved up with my surfing skills.
That's absolutely incredible. I'm still actually astounded by the fact of like just how young you were when you started too. Like I had no idea. I didn't even know you were 20. I thought for sure I don't know. I thought you were older than that. Cuz you're so wise, you know? And your skills are so incredible like Holly said. So that's super super impressive. And just before we hopped on the podcast, Holly did mention that you competed as a junior in the Pacific Paddle Games. So what was that experience like?
I think this time it was one of the best experiences ever. Like, because as I said, in Switzerland, there were not a lot of juniors, or still at this moment, there are not a lot of juniors. And so PPG 2018 was the first time that I was racing in just a category with kids at my age, like not competing with others that are like 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, but having a group of kids that are like, I'd say like 13 to maybe 17 years old, and have a race with them. For me, it was amazing. And to see all my idols, to like stand next to them on the starting line and to see how they prepare for the races, that was a dream coming true. And I think up to this day, I'm so, so grateful for having had the chance to go to America and to experience the last version of the PPG, because after that it was finished. And so that's a really good memory.
Yeah, I remember I was in school still at the time, and I remember watching the live feed, and I remember telling myself, I was like, I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to get the PPG, and then it stopped, and I was like, oh no, it was so sad. So I think that is phenomenal that you did have a chance to compete at it when it was in its prime, because that event, I think, will always be just so legendary to the stand-up paddling community, and that event means a lot to a lot of people. So I think that's really cool. You're kind of like paving the way for other young athletes as well to participate in like really fun events like PVG.
Yeah. Who are your main competitors as a junior? Is there anyone who you used to like paddle hard against as a junior who is still racing now? Obviously, as everyone's grown up a little bit. Who else was at that event?
I think when I was younger, it was not really, I don't know somebody I could tell you right now that is still paddling at this moment. Like after PPG, when I started to do year two races, I would say that's more like in the past couple of years. It has been Cecilia Pampinella. We were always going like back and forth. But when I was younger, like 15 years old, there was Jade Housen from Hawaii. Or I think she's from the US actually. But she also stopped paddling, and so she was also a kind of an idol for me, because I've been always looking up to her and what she was doing and training. But I think there haven't been that many girls that are still racing now. Yeah, or at least I can't remember at the moment. I'm sorry. I forgot anybody.
When did you decide that you really wanted to take it up a notch? And I remember 2023 and 2022, you were dedicating a lot of time to stand-up paddling and racing and traveling. That, I think I remember you saying, that was like a conscious decision you had made to take a year out and really see what you could do. What made you decide to do that?
Yeah, so I was in high school, and then I finished high school, and for me it was really clear that now I'm free. So that means like I can go to the races, and I don't have to always manage like taking the first flight after the race to go back to be back in school on Monday, or take Friday off from the classes, and then having to manage all problems that like went along with like still going to school. And so I knew that if I really want to get better at paddling, I just need to dedicate like some more time to this. And I also really wanted to just go and travel and see the world. And as I didn't have like a plan for like starting studies or anything, I told myself that for at least 1 year, I'm just gonna try and see how it feels like to be a professional athlete, and how it is to train, and how much I can improve during that like time period of time. And so, yeah, I think that was, yeah, it just came natural to me to continue and to see how far I can go. And also because I love traveling, I love to see other people. It was a dream coming true actually. And I like during high school, like during the last 4 years, I was really like always I had this vision in my head to do this afterwards, and that kept me going because otherwise I'm not really a schoolgirl. So I think that was always my biggest motivation to finish school.
And when you were taking this year out and you were dedicating it to sports, what did a typical day look like for you? What was your full-time athlete week like?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I love doing sports. So it was just basically doing a lot of sports, which also led me to the problem I'm dealing with right now, which we're gonna maybe talk about later. But yeah, as I really enjoyed doing all kind of sports, I started like every morning. I started with some stretching, some yoga. That was kind of my morning routine, like 20 to 30 minutes. I was always I find it really helpful to just tune in with my body to see how I feel, how I'm recovered. Like if I have some, if I feel sore or if I'm feeling great. So like showed me how the day will go. And then I was following training plan. So it was mostly just either paddling or gym in the morning, depending also on where I was and where during the season I was. So if it was just before the racing season or during the race season. But for me, it was always really important to mix sports up. So I know athletes that are like paddling like 6, 7, 8 times a week. And for me, that was never a question. Like for me, it was always clear that I need to have at least, I don't know how many other sessions in other sports, because it was always about diversity for me, because I enjoy so many sports like strength training, running, trail running, going to the gym, paddling, swimming, whatever, cross country skiing, for example, as well. So I think if I didn't have those alternative sports, if I would only paddle, I wouldn't continue because for me it would be too boring, especially on the Swiss lakes where like sometimes or most of the times actually my only training partner was my watch. And so yeah, I was going for a paddle and then I came back, I ate some lunch and then relaxed for a bit and maybe did some other work or some social media and stuff. And then I went for the second session and that was basically it, like training more or less twice a day, also depending of course on how hard the sessions were. Sometimes I was just doing one session a day.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like for sure full time, like you're taking it on and you're dedicating the time commitment for sure that is required to be a professional athlete, which is hard. You know, it is a lot of time. It is like a full-time job. And I know we had that conversation when I met you in Thailand last year as well. And I do also remember in Thailand, like you said to me, you were like, oh, you know, I'm kind of ready for the season to be done, you know, like I'm ready to race. But then after you were like, I'm excited to take a break. And I think this year definitely, I mean, I don't know if it was planned for sure, but maybe, yeah, you could walk us through what has kind of happened to you this year and why you have taken a break from stand-up paddling and a few other sports as well.
Yeah, so as I knew that I'm just gonna try and see how far I can get during this year, I was also consciously doing a lot of races. Um, like some people might say it would have been like too many races, but in my mind it was just like now or never, and I was not sure if I ever have the chance to do this at all. And so I was doing a lot of races and my body always felt really good and I continued. I was really motivated, but as you said, at the end of the season I was also quite tired because I traveled a lot. I was also traveling a lot by myself in the car, doing a lot of miles. And so, yeah, I was pretty tired, but more just mentally tired because I've always taken great care of myself, I thought at least. Just trying to do everything well to manage the recovery, but also like eating healthy. And so, as you mentioned before, I'm really interested in food and cooking and baking and everything. And so, I always try to eat healthy. And I didn't really realize that actually I ate too healthy for what I was doing. So I was not really aware that for like sports, like the difference between regular nutrition and sports nutrition, and that as an endurance athlete, the amount of calories you need to sustain like a healthy body in general, healthy working body, is a lot higher than when you're just like having a job at the office and maybe work out for 3 or 4 times a week. And so my diet has been probably one of the things. My healthy diet has been probably one of the things that brought me towards the Reds, like the problem I'm suffering under now. It's called, or like the explanation of the term Reds is relative energy deficiency syndrome. And so it's basically when you're doing more sports or just more exercise, like you burn more calories than you actually can eat. And so I did a lot of endurance sports since I was really young, and I think I was always eating really healthy and maybe not always matched this amount. And so I like the most common signs of people with Rett, like the symptoms of it are like stress fractures, being sick all the time or a lot of times, like getting small injuries, feeling tired, not be motivated. Maybe you get into overtraining really quick, or your sleep is really bad. And so I've never had any of these symptoms, but there's one other symptoms for the females, and that's like the lack of regular or at all the lack of menstrual cycle, and so that happened to me. I've never really had a regular menstrual cycle since I was young, and so I was always aware of that, and I was working with some doctors, but every examination took a while, and I was continuing with the sport, and I reached a point where I knew like it's just not normal to not have your period. And so I was really investigating more in that and trying to find out why this is happening to me. Because I was doing great. Like last year, 2023 has been the year of my life for paddling. I did so many races. I recovered well. I got better at each race, and yeah, like performance wise, there was no clue that I was suffering under, that I'm still suffering under this relative energy deficiency. And so after that, I was talking to a specialist from Great Britain, and she's called Renee McGregor. And she told me that, like, looking at my blood results and the hormones, that the issue is really about the calorie intake, especially also the carbohydrates. And then we tried to work on changing the diet for a bit. But I haven't seen any results, also because I was still doing a lot of endurance sports. And so at the beginning of the year, we had to decide that it's time to commit to change that, like to get the goal is now to get like a functional normal menstrual cycle. And so I had to quit, or I'm still avoiding high intensity exercise. But then therefore I still try to eat the same amount of food, or like just try to eat more than I did before, probably, or eat differently, let's say, because I've been eating a lot when I was like paddling. It's not that I was not eating enough, but what I was eating, it was just a lot of fibers. Like, I'm vegetarian, and so I was trying to eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of lentils and beans and grains and whatever. And I thought like that's really healthy, but actually it is healthy for, as I said, a person that is going to the gym 3-4 times a week and works in an office, but not for an athlete that is training like hardcore 2 times a day. And so yeah, those fibers that I ate, they made me feel full. Like, I was never hungry, because when I was hungry, for me it was obvious that I'm going to eat something. but then actually the fibers, they made me feel full, but the calories were not there. Like I didn't have the same value as when I was just eating like simple carbs, for example. So what I'm trying now is to eat more balanced, to eat also more simple carbs, and that's probably something that I should have done a lot earlier. But I mean, yeah, I think it's just how it is, and sometimes you have to learn it the hard way. Um, it's been hard to not like paddle and train and being able to do what I love, because I really, really enjoy doing sports in general. So yeah, it's kind of a world that broke down for me, to be honest. And it was hard to find something else where I can really like thrive and just see the sense of doing it. But yeah, it's I think it's part of the game, and it will only make me stronger. Also when I want to get back to paddling, or once I can get back to paddling and training and racing. And so yeah, I hope it's I didn't talk about this like too complicated. I hope you understand a bit what I want to say with it. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, absolutely. Like, I definitely I think this is such a fascinating topic, and especially because, all three of us here sitting at the table are female athletes, and we're learning so much about like how to fuel ourselves properly, and I can tell you, like, I did not know like even the difference of like basic macronutrients versus micronutrients, and like, yeah, calories in versus calorie out depending on what kind of sessions that you're having in a day. And like personally, I've only really gotten to know that kind of specific nutrition knowledge over the past year as well, because I mean, Holly and I, we spoke to April Zilg last season, but we spoke to her, I believe, in March, I think, earlier this year. And yeah, same thing. We had the same conversation that like I also have experienced like missing periods as well, and not really understanding like, okay, why did it go away, and like what's happening, and that, okay, I need to be fueling myself to be able to perform, but there is a difference between simple versus complex carbohydrates, how much protein you need to have before or after a workout, and we talk about Dr. Stacy Sims all the time. Like there's more knowledge out there now, but it's still this like taboo that we're not touching on, or like we still don't know a lot about. And I think it is important to talk about and to discuss and to share stories like yours, so that, hopefully other female athletes as well that are up and coming or still participating in sport know that, being in sport isn't always about like aesthetics. It's definitely none of that. It's like you should be looking at nutrition as a way to fuel yourself. Food is fuel. So yeah, for more of like performance wise. And yeah, sometimes we hit that wall, and that's when we realize like, oh no, like we're going down,
I think you mentioned, Anna, that you maybe should have made some changes sooner. But to be honest, like I mean, I don't know enough about it as much as I'm sure you do, having gone through it. But it sounds like if you weren't experiencing any symptoms, or you weren't experiencing very many symptoms, then you couldn't have really done much different to what you did do. Sometimes we do have to go through these things to learn the hard way. And I think in the long run, it will probably be your superpower. Once things have resolved a little bit and got a bit better, you're going to be probably much more fueled than the rest of us. And I think you'll just have that knowledge on how to support your body the best. And yeah, no, I'm sure it's really hard at the moment, especially, I guess, as you don't know how long it could go on for. It could be a few more weeks, it could be a few more months, it could be a long time. You just have to trust the process and listen to your body. It's almost like a new kind of training, patience training instead of physical training.
Yeah, that's really it. Like that's for me, that's also like the hardest part, because it's not like injury where like, oh, my knee is hurting, But I know it's getting better each week. I can do those exercises to get better. It's just like, oh, actually, I'm feeling fine, and I've always felt fine. I just didn't have like a regular menstrual cycle, and it's just like patience, waiting game, and like patience. It's not really my strength. And so you don't really know when everything is gonna align, when your body is also the body is going to take the time that it needs, because it has been in this deficit for a long time. And so it's not just once. Now I feel like I'm eating well, I'm feeling well, I'm resting well. Yeah, the body is going to tell me when it's ready. And I think that's really hard, because I'm impatient and I want to do sports, and I want to start training again. But I also know that once things get better, it's all about never like getting back where I was, and changing my way of training, and just maybe just change some things. And also not having the ambitions to get right back to the top level, because I think it's going to take a while. And I think it's also great to maybe make a break, and not like get back as soon as possible, to prevent this from happening again, but also to get back with full motivation and really like wanting it. And so I think, for me right now, my main goal is to get healthy again, and so I can do sports in general. And once I kind of establish that, I can think further. But right now, my current goal is really to get a normal functioning menstrual cycle, and to like recover from that. And so I really appreciate what Maddi said before. I think it's really important to talk about this topic, as it also not always just like it's not always really obvious that people are suffering under RETs. It's also possible for male athletes to suffer under RETs. It's not just a female thing. And I think that it's getting more and more common, like that people talk about this, and it's also more maybe a term that is more known in the sports world. But still, when I talk to my friends and family, and like also like just athletes that should be aware of those kind of things, most of them they still don't know. They still don't know about this. And I also think that there's a kind of misunderstanding in sports in general, that like a lot of people, when they have like stress fractures, for example, they say like, oh, it's because of this or it's because of that. But then in fact, they never really treat the root cause. So they wait until it's healed and then they start again. But they never really look, for example, at the nutrition kind of side, where there's sometimes a lot of things going wrong. Like, as I said, I was not like that I didn't care or anything. I was really interested in nutrition, and I thought I was doing the right thing. And I always thought that like my friends, that there were some of them, they just like ate junk food and sugar. And I won't say that that's healthy, but maybe at like during some time, for me, it would have been healthier than always eating like the vegetables and the whole grain rice and pasta and whatever. And so it's about finding this balance, and just being aware of sports nutrition versus regular nutrition, I guess. And I think that's also important for younger athletes, especially like still athletes that are going through puberty, that are still developing. Because like I started doing endurance sport when I was really young, and I think like it slowly started to accumulate during all the years. And that like what I'm going through now is like the result of it. So I think that's also why it's going to take a while, because it's not just been the last year. Of course, last year I did a lot more sports than I've done before, but I think it's still like it started when I was really young. I started to do more and more sports, and at the same time just getting more interested in healthy nutrition that wasn't probably so healthy as I thought. Yeah.
I guess
Absolutely.
I guess there's different types of like, it's so simple to say healthy or not healthy, and there's actually such a spectrum. Foods can be really healthy and good for us, like they could be full of vitamins and full of nutrients, but it depends what else we're eating in our whole diet, and like you say, what we're doing as well. It's interesting. You just made me think of I was listening to a podcast a while ago. It was not actually about nutrition at all. It was about rowing, and but they asked these rowers after the Olympics, the Paris Olympics, about their preparation, and they said, just the amount of training that they were doing, they were burning so much energy, using so much energy, that they were really struggling to meet their energy demands, and they said then, I think somebody asked them, not on the podcast, but like somebody in the public asked them, like, what does a rower's diet look like? And they said that only there is no such thing as an unhealthy diet for us. The only unhealthy diet for us is if we don't eat enough. Everything else is, it doesn't matter if it's a jam donut, like after training, get the sugars back in. As long as they're eating enough, that's the main thing. And they said to eat, some of them are burning thousands and thousands of calories a day, and to eat 6,000 calories worth of carrots is just like impossible. So they have to have they have to have a range of typically healthy foods like fruit and veg and fibers, but also foods that are much easier to and quicker to digest as well, just to get the energy in to help recover their body after training and competing. So I guess everybody is so different, and we all have different foods that our bodies are able to tolerate better or worse than others as well. And yeah, it must take some time. Even the top level athletes at the Olympics are probably still figuring it out. Everything changes all the time, and maybe this will be like a lifelong thing for all of us. Not just you, but people who don't have any symptoms of REDS and aren't experiencing REDS, to continue making themselves as healthy as possible. The diet is just one part of that, and yeah, we're always going to be changing and always learning how best to look after our bodies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the fascinating thing about that, and especially because you have touched on that, Anna, is like, yeah, the really big difference between everyday nutrition and sports nutrition. Like, I know prior to, like, before I was like missing my period, was like I would go for a hard training session in the morning, and then I'd come back home, and for lunch I'd have like a salad with protein. Like, I'd usually throw in like chicken or tuna or something, and then I would have like a big bowl of spinach and a bunch of veggies. So I'd fill up on that and I'd feel full. But then I would like wait a couple hours, and then I'd go to the gym and I'd tackle another session. And then actually this year I started working with Dr. Audrey Lee, who's a PhD in nutrition. And when I was taking pictures of my food and sending it to her, she's like, Maddie, like, where are your starchy carbs? Like, where are your carbs? And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand, But you learn so many things by like going through that, or like talking to other people. And I think stand-up paddling specifically is quite fascinating because, like, unless you're working with a coach directly or even like a nutrition coach, it's not something that, like, I mean, at least from a Canadian standpoint, I don't know, if Europe is different in the school curriculum, but like we weren't taught that in school, right? Like we weren't taught like, oh, if you're pursuing a professional athletic career, this is how you need to fuel, instead of having that. And in SUP too, because we're such a small sport, like we may have coaches, but they may not also be talking to us about the nutrition piece or like the recovery piece, like replenishing all the energy that you just burned through and lost. And so I'm just so curious now, what does your like day to day look like now, like your activity levels, and what does like your food look like now too? Like, how do you fuel yourself to be on this road of recovery?
Yeah, so as I said, I love doing sports, and for me it was really hard to just change, like, from running to walking, from paddling an interval to just going cruise with some friends. So I knew that for my mental aspect, it's still really important that I, like, at some sort, I just have to move. And so what I've done was I went on an Alp in the mountains during the summer. And so that's basically a small hut in the mountains where you stay with animals. And so I took care of the animals. In my case, there was cows, and we did some cheese. And so for me, it was perfect to just disconnect from like everything I had before, like all the problems and like seeing the pictures from people racing and knowing that I can't race at the moment. And so I think that was like the best thing I could do because I was still active like all day long, but it was really, it was like easy. It was not like too concentrated on like twice a day full speed, but it was just doing something all day long, being outside in nature, on the fresh air. And so yeah, I think the most important for me was just to keep on moving and still do something because that's my passion. That's what I love doing. Even if I have found some other things that I like doing now, the biggest thing for me is still being outside and doing sports. And so that's like something I try to maintain because also for my mental health, I think it's important. And so right now I'm doing still I go to the gym and I do some strength training. I think that's probably like been the one and only sport that I stayed really consistent with. So like of course I'm not doing any high intensity workouts or anything, but I try to do more or less the same exercises and to work also to do weights like with weights training. But after that, like I stopped running. I stopped running at all. Like I haven't been running any trail during the summer. I switched to hiking for a bit. Like first, I think what I've done, what I needed to do was just to gain a bit of weight, to have like some reserves, and to also like yeah. At first, I really stopped doing a lot of sports, and so like when I was at a point where I thought like okay now I can manage to do a little bit more, not like intensity wise, but maybe duration. I started to go on longer hikes, and I started to paddle again. But yeah, like since the get go, since I knew that I have to change something, I took off my watch. So I've never been wearing my watch ever since then again. And that's been a huge factor for me because before my watch was my training partner. It was my alert in the morning, and yeah, it was just always with me all the time. And so now I'm really relying on also on my feelings. Like when I went paddling, I just turned around when I had enough. Like, and usually that was after like 20 minutes to 30 minutes, I paddled back. And so I was on the water for maybe like 40 minutes. Whereby before I was paddling for at least 1 to 1.5 hours when I had a training. But yeah, things change when you don't have like the intervals, for example, that give you like the direction of like what you have to do on the water when you're just paddling. Like all of a sudden it gets boring. There are no waves. It's flat. So yeah, I turned around, or then yeah, I think like here I'm doing some cross country skiing now in the mountains. I'm doing some gym training. I'm doing my yoga, my stretching, and I'm really trying to prioritize also rest. Like every time that I've done activity, like I told myself that like very important is like to fuel before and after. And if the activity is longer than let's say 1 hour, that I need to fuel. Like that's like the baseline. If I'm not doing this, I'm not doing the activity. But then also afterwards taking the time to rest and recover and give my body the chance to just yeah give the time it needs. And yeah, so basically I've been doing really easy and moderate exercises, but yeah, compared to what I've done the last 5 years, let's say, it's like nothing. It's really weird to see like for other people it would still be like really active, like people that are not doing a lot of sports, but coming from me, like being hyperactive and loving to just go for trail runs like lasting 3 to 4 hours, maybe sometimes with walking of course in between and everything, to just do 45 minutes a day, or yeah, it's different. And then also nutrition wise, I'm like never leaving the house without any food. So that's also not something I've done before. Usually Reds is also like let's say for the hormonal health of a female athlete, it's not great when you're doing a lot of fasted training, but that's never something I've done actually. But still, I make sure that I fuel well before I leave the house, and that I always have like snacks with me, that I'm eating regularly, and that I also eat enough carbs, because that's something I maybe neglected a bit when I was still paddling a lot. It's never that I was like avoiding carbs or anything. I mean, I love oats. If I can eat one thing until I die, it would be oats. Oats, peanut butter, and maybe avocado. But yeah, I focus on eating carbs regularly and eating enough carbs, and also not avoiding like just simple carbs. Before I was eating a lot of whole grain, and now I try also to eat just regular pasta instead of like chickpea or lentil pasta or whatever. And yeah,
It sounds like you're taking lots of steps to try and get back to recovery, which is really important. And do you know when you eventually do start feeling better, what's that gonna start to look like? I guess you won't be able to dive straight into like the same training you were doing before. But do you think you will go back to wearing your watch and doing some intervals and things like that? Or do you think you will take a different path and maybe try out some new sports? How do you feel the next few years, or however long it takes is going to go for you?
yeah. So I think like once I have a clear goal and I can start working towards that again, I for sure will use the watch again just to monitor the training, to like know like, oh, it's 1 minute full speed, then 2 minutes of rest or whatever. For that it's really great. But then I think I take it off for sleeping, for example, because yeah, like those days you have all the data from your sleep, how good you sleep, and then sometimes you wake up and you feel like, oh, actually I think I slept great, and then you look at your watch and your watch is saying like, oh, your sleep was bad, and then you already start like negative into your day knowing that you slept bad. And so I think that listening more to what my body is saying than what my watch or like all the devices are saying, that's a big one. But yeah, like as I said, I think I'm not trying to get back to top to the world's best like in stand-up paddling as fast as possible. I'm really trying to take the time. Also like when I can start training again, because I have a lot of other dreams, goals, and wishes that like in other sports that I would like to fulfill. Maybe it's not maybe those dreams are not the best dreams to think about right now, because it's like I would love to do an Ironman once, which is also a really long and intense exercise. And I also would love to run an ultra marathon in the mountains. But yeah, that's probably something for the future, where I still also have a lot of time doing that when I'm older. But I'm also considering going to the mountains again during the summer and work with the animals, because that's something I discovered. Like I rediscovered my love for the animals again. That was a big one this year, and I think that was also something that helped me to change a bit, like from being sad and angry about my situation, just having another outlook of what I'm doing and what I like doing, where I want to spend my energy, where I see sense of spending my energy towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You have
so incredible. I think that, to me at least, sounds like a great plan. I think definitely like patience for sure is a virtue in this situation, absolutely. And the fact that you are 20 years old, like you are still so young and have like so much life ahead of you. And so I think, our sport is really cool because it showcases women like Espe and Kim Barnes, and like, women in their like 40s and 50s that are like kicking butt in this sport, and so there's longevity, and you have all the time in the world. And I think those other pursuits too as well sound so miraculous. And like, yeah, you're such a like all around phenomenal athlete that I think one day when you do get back to it, you will come back so much healthier and stronger by taking this time to recover and get back to where your body needs to be. So that's a great plan.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really appreciated because, as you said, I have all the time in the world. I notice, and people told me, and it's so true. But then still, when you're in this moment and you're like, just all of a sudden you come from like 100 to 0, it hits hard, and it's not easy. But I think, yeah, maybe it's meant to be like this. And I as I said, I learned already so many things just because of that during this year, and it made me a better person, and will make me a better athlete later on. So yeah, it is how it is, and you have to make the best out of it, which doesn't mean that it's always sunshine. Like there's no rainbow without rain, and there were plenty of hard moments, and there still are moments of doubts and where I'm just angry, and I just want to go and like fuck everything and just go for a 2-hour run or whatever. But I know that's something I can do later, and yeah, it's just it will pass. Like it's like everything in life when you have bad moments where you don't know how to continue. Like just knowing that it will pass and there will be better times ahead. I think that helps, and also the experience of like already experience how it went from bad to better again, to know that it eventually will turn out again like that.
You have, I guess this gives you an opportunity to practice other skills and put your time and energy into other passions as well. And one of the passions, or one of your really special skills that I want to talk about is languages. You are really good at languages, probably the best of all the people I've ever met. You speak what seems like 50 million different languages, and all really, really well.
What?
And
I didn't know this.
Tell us
I
a
don't
bit
speak
more.
50 million languages.
Close, not far off.
Are there even
like
50 million languages, Holly?
Maybe not. But when Anna and I were racing together, I think we spent some time together in 2022, and I remember whoever we spoke to, you would just be able to speak to anybody so easily, and you could just flick between different languages. Yeah, tell us, how many languages do you speak?
So I speak, like in Switzerland, you grow up speaking Swiss German, which is a dialect, like kind of German. But German people mostly don't really understand it right away. Then I speak normal German, which was mandatory in school. Then I learned to speak French, as it is also an official language in Switzerland. And then I learned to speak English, and that was like, yeah, that when I was really young, when I started to speak English, because I knew that all the races and all the informations around the races were in English, and so it was my biggest motivation to understand what people were saying, and then also practice it during the races, because that was the only way to communicate with the people. And so then when I was in high school, I chose to learn Spanish, just because as you said, I really like languages, and I had a really, really strict teacher, which I was not always happy about. But I think, like in the long run, now I can say I'm really happy that I investigated so much time in learning Spanish, but then also practicing it in real life on the races, because there are so many people, so many of my friends that speak Spanish, and I think it's a beautiful language. And so now it's been, if you count Swiss German, it's 5 languages. Without, it's 4. So it's not 50 million, but yeah.
Close enough. At least in my books.
Pretty good.
That's so impressive.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That is wicked cool.
No, it sounds like you can definitely get your way around Europe quite.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
How do you find the best way to learn for you? Do you use Duolingo, or do you have a teacher, or you just try and pick it up as you go along?
Yeah, so like obviously it was kind of like the base was always set in school of all those languages, but I think the best way to learn a language is just to travel around and then to speak with the people. Because I know like a lot of my friends in school, they were speaking well, or they had good grades, but once they were like in Spain, they would like literally say like they wouldn't be able to say one single sentence because they were like afraid of talking to people. And so I think that's also one of my strengths, is like just opening up and talking to people, even if it's probably not 100% right what I'm saying, just trying and try and error. And yeah, I think I also I spent like 2 months in Ventura, and there I really, really tried to focus on speaking Spanish and not like trying to switch to English if something was not working. And so, yeah, just committing to the language that you want to speak, and then also speak with the locals. I think that's the thing that helped me the most.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That you know what, I couldn't agree with you more on that, because like, I mean, Holly knows, because when we recorded actually season 2, I was living in Tahiti, and same thing, right? Everybody comes up to you and they're like, "Oh, your last name's Leblanc, you speak French," and I'm like, "Je ne sais pas." So but when you are living in that culture and you're so immersed with these people, like, you're kind of forced to learn because you don't really have another option. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, at least trying to, because I think your friends will get it, you know, like they'll understand, okay, yep, she's trying, you know, she's making an effort, and it's better than nothing. So that's awesome that you know so many languages and you continue to learn more.
I think we have it too easy being or speaking English, and for me being English, we just have it way too easy. Like in school, I did learn languages in school, but it was so useless and so rubbish that I don't remember very much. And I've been trying to keep up with languages recently, but yeah, I think because everybody just speaks to you in English, if you get stuck with something, it's so easy just to ask them in English, and they definitely can probably speak English even better than I can. So yeah, it's not easy, but no, it is easy. That's the problem. It's too easy for us to just speak English. So no, it sounds like you just seem to work hard at everything, and yeah, I think we're looking forward to seeing what the next year has in store for you. Do you have any plans for the next few months? I know you're up in the mountains doing some skiing for a little while. Do you have any plans for after that?
No, like no concrete plans that I could tell you right now. Depends a bit on my health situation. But yeah, I think as it looks like at the moment, doesn't looks really realistic to think about racing, or at least to think about like high level racing for the next year, health wise, but then also training wise, because yeah, I haven't been able to train at all during this year, and of course, like the base, it's always going to be there to build up, but it still will take some time to get back. So depending on my health, but as I said, I really enjoy to be in the mountains in the summer with the animals and making the cheese. And so probably if things will go that way, I gonna go again and disappear during the summer month, somewhere lonely in the mountains with the animals. Yeah, I think that wouldn't be a bad plan. I would agree on doing that, and if not, I of course would love to do some races to see all the people again, and yeah, those are the plans for for whatever is to come, or yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I know that Holly and I are definitely looking forward to seeing you again sometime, hopefully sooner rather than later. But whenever you do come back to this sport, you know, the community loves you, and I know we're all just gonna like welcome you with open arms. And yeah, we can't wait to see you pursue whatever it is, you know, like in the mountains or on the water. Like, we're all so stoked for you.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to talk to you too. I really enjoy to have the contact to like the paddling scene again, and to talk especially to you two girls. Really inspiring, like training hard, working hard, on and off the water. And so I have like one final question to you now, like coming from my side. What's your next goal, or what are you working on at the moment, like after the racing season? What's the main topic in your life right now.
Ooh, Holly, do you want to go first?
I was gonna say if you wanted to go first, but no, I can go first. I actually don't know. So I had a really good year. This year has been like one of the most enjoyable years for me. So Maddie knows, but I don't know if a lot of other people know. So this time last year, I left my job at the hospital. I was working in the hospital as a physiologist, and I left in December last year. And so 2024, this year for me was a bit of a test year. So I've been self-employed. I've been doing a few like part-time projects. And really enjoying it, and I just wanted to see how sustainable it could be. So there's been much more flexibility for me to work and train and race, I guess. I because I'm self-employed, I don't get as much time off anymore. But it does mean that I can work while I'm away. So I've been doing some more racing and trying to work and travel at the same time. I've also been spending lots of quality time with friends and family, which has been really nice. And I finished the ISAs in Copenhagen this year in September. That was my last like big race for the season. I planned to have a few weeks of taking it easy and then getting back to training because I really wanted to. I felt like I was getting better, and I wanted to get back onto it, ready for next year. However, that hasn't happened. And I've actually been taking it too easy for like 3 months now. I've been like work has been way too busy. I've been trying to fit everything in, but there just hasn't been the hours in the day, like getting up at 5:30 in the morning, not going to bed until like midnight. There's just not been enough time to get on the water as well. So I'm really grateful that work has been busy, because that was one risk that I took, is that I may not have enough work and I might have to go back to the hospital. So it's really good for me that things have been busy. But it also means I'm probably not as fit as I could be right now. I'm exploring lots of foiling, so I'm kind of excited to get back to. Well, I just want to see what I can do next year. Like, I don't think I'm going to be breaking any records, but I just want to continue having a really fun year. I might even. I'm going to see how this winter goes, but I'm trying to do some downwind foiling, and so maybe I'm going to try and do some racing in that if my skills get good enough. But yeah, otherwise I have no goals and no plans really for next year, other than just see how it goes. Yeah, so maybe that wasn't the answer you were expecting, but that's life at the moment.
Molokai Tuawahu, watch out for Holly. She's coming.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that now I feel honored to spend 1.5 hours talking to you, knowing that your schedule is so tight. So thank you for that.
No, it's been great to chat with you too, and thank you for asking too. Because no, we spend a lot of time asking everybody else what they're up to, so it's strange to have the question thrown back to us. Maddi, what are your plans for the next few months and next year?
Absolutely. I feel so similar to you, Anna, like what happened to you in 2023. Like, I feel like 2024 for me was the year of like, I just went all over the place. Like, I traveled all over the world. I tried to do as many races as I possibly could, and I definitely pushed my limits for sure in some places and found, okay, this is where I need to start setting some boundaries and saying no to opportunities. Like, I do need to pace myself a little bit better. But I still had a great year. Like, I was able to defend my Canadian national title again, which was amazing. And I had a great time competing with Kim Barnes, Seychelles, and Stephanie Scheidler in Hilton Head back in September at the USA National Championships. And also with Maddie Miller as well. That was so much fun, and I learned so much more about myself as an athlete during that event. And so next year, I really, I had a full, analysis conversation with my coach, Larry Kane, not too long ago, which was great. And so we realized that we want to step up the training, but with stepping up the training, that also means, taking a step back into the traveling and picking and choosing competitions wisely so that, I'm still getting in good quality training and hard work, but not pushing myself to this extent where, I'm feeling burnt out or I'm feeling super tired or lacking motivation to go to an event because I did push myself. Because, you learn over the course of like so many plane rides and car rides that takes a lot out of you too. So next year, I don't want to start racing until May. I do, for the first time ever, like want to compete in the Euro Tour. So yeah, I'm saving up for that. I'm thinking just to go to Spain for May, I think would be really fun and do those events there. And just, like really get a chance to paddle with everybody over in Europe because, here in North America, like we have good competition, but it's so like you got to travel so far. And I really want to diversify myself and try to, get some European paddling in. So I want to do that. And then I really want to compete actually in Chattajack this year. Like this is the year where I'm like, all right, like it's on the bucket list. It's always has been, but like this is the year to do it, And so I don't think I'll go to Worlds in Abu Dhabi next year. I think that's like, again, that's where I'm recognizing like we're stretching it a bit. And I really want to go to Sicily in 2026 when Worlds is there. So just take a year off kind of Worlds and just keep training, putting the head down and putting in the hard work. But yeah, that's kind of the tentative plans for now.
Sounds great. So now it's time to work on your Spanish skills, right? When you want to come over to Europe.
I was just thinking that. I was like, oh gosh, I'm like, maybe I'll have to hit you up for some Spanish lessons because I'm like, okay, we got like 6 months, 5 months right now to learn Spanish.
Actually, I'd like to sit in on those Spanish lessons too. Maybe this could be your pivot, Anna, is teaching all the paddlers languages.
I don't know if I'm speaking well enough, but I guess I would have like some vocabulary that maybe would be useful on like traveling on the tour. Just
all us paddlers really want to know is what people are saying at the briefing, how to order water, and maybe pizza.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
The important stuff, Holly. That's key.
No, thank you so much, Anna, for spending the time talking with us today. It's been really great to have you on Rise and Glide. And yeah, thanks for sharing. I'm sure it's quite a personal story. So we really appreciate you spreading awareness and hopefully helping some others as well. And yeah, we wish you all the best for 2025. It's not long. Actually, by the time this episode is released, it will be 2025. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you back on the race course soon, but we totally understand that there's a lot of other things in your life that you may want to pursue alongside that as well. So we'll wait patiently. And I hope you have a lovely winter in the mountains, and we'll see you.
Thank you, girls, for giving me the opportunity to speak on this platform, and I hope to see everyone that is listening right now soon on one of the races.
Heck yeah. We'll see you
sure.
soon. It's not goodbye. It's just like, we'll see you later,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Where can people find you, Anna, as well? Like if anybody wants to follow along and your journey, what are your, like, say, social media outlets, or if you have a website?
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to see what I'm doing, also right now in the winter, like if you're up to snow pictures, winter wonderland pictures, then follow me on Instagram, where you can find me under my real name, Anna Tschirky. And that's, I think if you follow on Instagram, you'll know what's happening. So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
We'll add your Instagram in the show notes as well, so people can head straight there. Yeah, it's great chatting with you, Anna, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in and for listening to this episode of the Rise and Glide podcast, brought to you by Paddle Logger.
We just have two small things to ask you before you close this episode. The first one, if you enjoyed it, please leave us a rating and a review. It really makes a big difference. And the second one is to go to the App Store and download Paddle Logger today.
We can't wait to see you on the next episode.